Avada Kedavra.
Oh, that one.
I mean, Crucio.
Yeah, that's
maybe.
probably worse.
What is that?
Torture.
It's literally just the torture spell.
Oh my gosh.
So you just straight up are torturing someone.
Because it's excruciating?
Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Nolan here.
And this is episode 368, and it is a Patreon poll! I've got a question that's going to require you to think a little bit, which is asking a lot.
Yeah.
Just skip it.
What video game series, in your opinion, used to be top tier, but has since fallen from grace? There's a lot. Probably more.
How many
than
answers do you want?
Not right. I mean, you can give me any.
Okay. I'll give you the first one that comes to mind. Well, okay. No. I was going to say Fire Emblem, and I kind of take it back.
Okay,
that's just my personal opinion.
That's fine.
But I also haven't played the newest one that I've heard is a return to form. So never mind. Take it back.
You didn't like petting people in Three Houses?
At first. No, I didn't. I thought the game's okay, but then like there's so much other game that's part of it that was not what I wanted.
Kenny, any game come to mind? Any series?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, but I think it's maybe a little overblown, actually, is Diablo series.
That's
Diablo
a good
3
answer.
That's a great answer.
Got a lot of flack. Some of it's fair, and some of it is just like the company has gotten flack. That's also fair. I do think it's hated a little more than it deserves, but certainly there's a story about popularity and game development choices and things to be talked about there, wherever you draw that
Kenny,
line.
maybe D4 takes it back?
I hope so. I don't know if it will, but I hope so. I'm a perpetual optimist, and I'm gonna get burned.
I'll give you one non-controversial one and one controversial one. The non-con.
Don't change the way you say a word.
The non-con is Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but I think that's for obvious reasons. Well, what do you mean?
They still make them?
No, I mean that's part of the point. It once was a great thing and now has fallen from grace. They did make many after 1 and 2, which were
I thought you meant ongoing.
Never said that.
Yeah, that's the implication there.
Absolutely
it's
not.
the impla.
And then the other one, that one wasn't supposed to be controversial. The other one
I hate everything.
is Castlevania Come At Me.
No.
I'm not coming at you.
But also yours,
just like
your answers
are great.
Are bad because you need to be like Call of Duty or yours should have been Assassin's Creed, Dustin. I don't know what you're thinking.
That one is fair.
I've considered Assassin's Creed, but
it's fallen, dude. No more grace. No more.
They are fine games to some degree. They are just not Assassin's Creed games anymore, but I've got high hopes for Mirage, which is coming out soon.
Okay.
You're going to get burned.
You're going to get burned, dude.
All right,
Modern games are bad. Let's just keep playing old ones.
That's sad, but true.
Hashtag listen to our episode because we just talk about old games. Nice, Kenny.
Hashtag NGP.
This is our lackluster list. What series have we missed? Let us know by typing into the comments or I guess yelling into your device. What series has passed their expiration date?
I'll give it to you, actually.
Oh, Kenny?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was poorly executed. Like nearly Headless Nick in our retro game of the week, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
I just wanted you to do better.
Overview.
Papatkos.
You had to think about that one.
I wrote it down. I just wanted.
You wrote it down.
I wanted to see how y'all react to that.
Okay.
It is a toll-playing game. I have a typo. It was released
Stick with it.
in 2002 for the PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, PC, and Mac, Game Boy Advance, and the console we played it on, the Game Boy Color.
But not all the same game. This is not just one game
It's not a
released
port.
on everything.
Correct.
They said we got to get this franchise work, video game stuff out, and made a whole bunch of different games to cover all the different consoles.
Yeah, and there were 4 or 5 different development teams that made that happen. And for ours, it was Kryptonite Games that developed the Game Boy Color version, but EA developed and published the main release, I would argue, which was the PlayStation 2, that big release.
Thing.
Yeah.
I did say when the game was pulled last week, wrong things, and this is rarely happens where I'm wrong.
Yeah, you've never said wrong things before ever.
When the randomizer rolled it, I pulled up the game. I read I was looking at the Game Boy Advance version because I said it was a collection of mini games. Remember?
Yeah.
And then when I was watching Nolan's first play and stepping into it, we were both like, "That's not what this is."
Yeah.
But there are some mini games scattered throughout, I thought there was just confusion there.
Yeah,
but it literally is a different game that's completely those.
Yes.
Yeah, different game, and it is. I don't know if it's those exact mini games, but it is a game that is primarily composed of mini games.
Yes,
but not this one.
On the
That's Game Boy Advance,
yes,
right?
Which
not
I kind of
GBC.
wanted to play. GBC is a toll playing game, kind of an RPG. Dustin,
I love when you commit.
Dustin, biggest HP fan. Kenny right behind him.
Kenny's probably
Probably invert that, but
I
Dustin's
think
been there.
I think where you're confused is I'm a big RPG fan.
No, you've been to Hogwarts.
I like toll playing. I've been to Hogwarts.
Kenny hasn't.
I got accepted.
I have on my honeymoon.
Oh my god. Okay, Kenny wins. Dustin's second biggest. I'm the least. And when you've got, this is a movie game. Movie games are movie games. You're either going to get Lion King or Barney. But listen, I have always heard.
Barney's not even a movie.
Barney's
game.
I guarantee you there's a Barney movie.
There's many Barney movies.
It's based on media.
That's
Get
not
out of
what
my face. You can watch it on your TV. But listen, I have always heard that Harry Potter games fall within the Lion King category in terms of quality, at least the main release ones. So, in this case, probably the PlayStation 2 one would be up there. The side games, not so much. But I've heard that, and that we have played one on the show. I believe it was the Sorcerer's Stone, maybe the first game.
Yeah, sounds right.
On PlayStation, and it was way better than a normal movie game is usually for us.
Well, and let's specify here,
It's also
because this isn't a movie game.
It's a movie game.
It's absolutely not a movie game.
Well,
that's what sets this one apart from most of the others, because this one and its predecessor on the Game Boy Color as well are both exclusively, entirely, explicitly based on the book, not the movie.
Sure, but
the movie's based on the book too.
Sure.
It is different.
Did the
It's
video game come out right at the same time that the movie was being released?
Well, that's what I mean when I say it.
Yes, that's what happened. That's what happened. However, they were really trying to stick close to the book story, where in the movie, of course, it's an adaptation and they have to cut a lot out. Here, it pretty much goes parallel with the story of the book.
And you can see that in other ways too. Like the visuals of the characters, they didn't try and recreate the look of the actors. Like there's ways that if they were being inspired from the movie, they would have handled things completely differently, as well as details in the story and some other things.
Two things before we go into the story that I would like to share. Found this interesting this week. This is the very last game that was released for the Game Boy Color in North America. The very last one.
Didn't know that.
Interesting.
So
that is very interesting. Weird.
A couple weeks ago, we played Adventure, a lot of firsts. This is a last.
This is a last for the console.
And then, secondly, I said up front, this is a Patreon pool game. So we had a lot of games submitted to the Patreon pool. Yeah. But this one, we actually had 2 Harry Potter games submitted to the Patreon pool. This one was submitted by Fast Eddie. we played Fast Eddie's Retro Game of the Week.
Hey, while we're talking about game selection, can I just make a quick note?
Sure.
Excuse my cough, and then we'll move on. It's February 2023. Hogwarts Legacy just came out, and we know opinions about Harry Potter at large are very divided. We just want to say thank you to our audience for understanding that the randomizer is going to random, and hopefully you can enjoy letting us talk about an old video game this week, because that's what we do, and that's what we're intentionally focusing on, just to bring you sort of core NGP retro video game content.
Absolutely.
The story begins like the book, even though no one reads. I think it does. I've read this one. No, it does start like the book. You are packing up to go to Hogwarts at your aunt and uncle's house, where they abuse you and they like torture you and make you do humiliating
it is pretty
things.
Bad.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. It is
torture. They locked him in his room this summer.
Yeah, he got a room. He's graduated from the staircase. Can't wait to go. He's got his bags packed, ready to go. And then this disgusting rat thing appears and starts telling you to not. Yeah, I said it. To not go back to Hogwarts because bad things will happen. And then a car shows up outside your window with 3 redheads in it, and then you get in, loser, and they take you to Hogwarts. Whoops.
The end.
Nolan, you are making enemies.
I'm not a Harry Potter like Stan or something.
Nolan's
I know you're not.
F Dobby.
Whoa! What did Dobby do to you?
I just know it'll piss Kenny off.
He's right. Best character.
Gameplay.
Dustin, you pointed out that this is not a mini game based game,
No.
but is in fact a RPG. I'm not taking Nolan's bait there. And it 100% is. We are getting classic turn-based RPG style game by every definition of the word. So you're walking around, having a party that changes in size, walking into quasi-random encounters. It's the encounter shows on the screen and you can choose whether to walk on it or not format of that. And doing normal RPG things, exploring the world, finding items, using spells, various attacks. It follows the cookie cutter formula in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you even have HP and MP.
You have stats.
But
You don't. You have SP, and that's very confusing.
SP stands for
Stamina points instead of hit points.
why? Oh, because HP stands for Harry Potter. They had to change it.
Oh, you might be right. That
wait.
literally may be why
that
they...
just came to my mind.
But it
because
would
I'm
still make
brilliant.
sense. Harry Potter and then a number next to
Yeah,
it.
but don't go to SP, because SP is spell points.
Right.
Don't go to SP. But also,
Right.
Nolan, you're wrong, because yes, it works for Harry Potter. But what's unique about this game compared to other Harry Potter games is that this was the very first game where you are not just a lone Potter, but you soon get party members.
So then
don't
you change it to HP for Hermione.
Okay, because that
RP
right.
for Ryan. It's very clear.
That would not
Because
be.
you want to role play as him.
And yeah, you get them as party members, and
Yes.
they operate differently, which is ridiculous. Because Ron can throw his pet rat, Scabbers. He doesn't he chunk them? And Hermione has a lecture attack where she lectures her peers and increases their ability power or something. It's ridiculous.
It's a buff.
It's a buff
because they know
It
know
makes-
the stuff.
Yeah, and it makes total sense. In the books, she's always reminding people what a spell is, and
She's
then they
a
use it
know-it-all.
or how to do
Uppercut
something.
her.
Yeah, that's her role, is to make others better.
Nolan, name one
works.
Harry Potter character you like.
Oh. Lucius Malfoy?
Okay, so you're in Slytherin, that's clear.
He is.
I don't like Lucius. He's abusive.
Yeah, I was shocked this week as I started playing this game, watching this game, playing this game, at how committed to the story and committed to the RPG kind of thing. You get stat
Yeah.
increases.
Yeah.
Like you're getting into these encounters and
Victory
it's turn-based.
when you win a battle.
Victory screen. You complete quests. You don't really. Do you have a quest log? You at least have it tells you what your main quest is.
There's sort of a current quest tracker thing. Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got side quests and mini quests, mini games. You've got all the things, albeit in a different fashion to some degree, but you've got all the things, all the ingredients for the potion that is RPG.
Let's be honest. This is very, very Final Fantasy in its present.
I hate that.
I know you hate that, but everything we've described so far is in Final Fantasy 1 and 2 for GBA. It's more or less the same kind of game.
Slow your roll there.
I don't know what you
want.
It's
an RPG. I don't know that it's overtly ripping off Final Fantasy.
I didn't say it's ripping it off.
You did say that you expected Red 13 to be in here. You said it's pretty much.
I never
the exact
said
same
none
thing.
of that, bro.
You said,
but
you said Harry Potter is on the same level as Final Fantasy VII for some reason.
There's even more. That there is a card collecting system in this game, almost like a deck builder that ends up being
Final
pointless.
Fantasy VIII?
No, like Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
We should flesh this out because I think the card system is one, a little bit unique, but two, a little bit contentious. I don't think people like this mechanic very much.
Why would you? It's pointless.
Yeah, it's pointless. And once I figured out that you lose the cards you combine, and you need those cards to unlock certain chests in Hogwarts, I didn't use the I didn't use the card combination attack once.
Same.
Yeah. And that is the problem, is the fact that these are consumable. And that's very bad for a lot of reasons, especially because it's the unlockable stuff isn't separate from the consumable nature of the cards.
Right.
It'd be different if once you unlock them, you then had access to anything related to you having had that card. But if you accidentally burn a card throwing this big spell on a boss fight that you feel like is clutch, you may be blocking yourself from access to something in the game that's bad. However, can we just take a step back and talk trading cards as a concept, the audience that this game was going for, because like it or not, they were very much keeping in mind that kids are a big fan of this franchise and built this game around it. 100%. I will argue that. They kept simple. We'll have that whole argument later if we need to. And finally, that on the original console, you could infrared from your console to your friend's console and swap cards and actually make the card collection something cool. You have some rare card that they don't have to get into a place that they can't get into. You swap it back and forth, and that is 100% an amazing concept that they just implemented really poorly.
Yeah, for the Pokemon trading card game, not for this game.
No,
consumable permanent deletion is a terrible mechanic. It's not a mechanic; it's an item. It's a potion in your inventory. More or less. And so, if you really want to explore that mechanic, you need to interact with every single box, wall, object on the screen because there's a card in it. But it's not hype when you get it.
And that used to be a trope in RPGs where there was no, even in the earlier Final Fantasies, you just go around tapping A everywhere.
Pokemon, yeah.
And that evolved to where there's chests or a bookshelf things. Might have something or a sparkly thing. But yeah, I always hated that, just going around and mashing everywhere. Yeah. However, I think it's important to note here that there's still a lot of game outside of this card combo situation.
Yeah, I ignored it.
It's completely optional
in fact,
to some degree.
That's not even the primary battle mechanic. The primary battle mechanic are your spells, casting spells. And I was again surprised that there's nearly a dozen spells in this game, each with varying levels of cost and damage. Yep. And you've got level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3 on some of these spells, and they even thought through one of the spells, is it Flipendo? One of the spells is free to cast, so it doesn't even consume some of your mana, which is interesting. A battle system built entirely around the magic points.
No auto attack, yeah.
Well, yeah, there's no physical attack.
Right,
Harry's not going to run up and punch a vacuum cleaner in the face. By the way, the enemies here
or a fan.
Pretty ridiculous.
Oh, and you don't kill them; they run away. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, it's a kids game.
Again,
It's a kids game. Yeah.
And then mini games. There are mini games, but it's not a game entirely about mini games.
Right.
I liked them.
Yeah, it was a nice change of pace. You whack a gnome,
Whack a gnome.
Yeah.
gnome
you toss
toss,
a gnome.
the
You
car
fly.
flying sequence.
Are they all gnome
Yeah,
themed?
No, just
They're
the
all
beginning
gnome
point.
themed.
And you can't select it from the main menu, I believe, because
Oh.
that's why I was confused when I booted it up, having in mind what you said.
Yeah,
It said minigames, like, oh, okay, cool. But then that game itself isn't. So
right.
It's not
it
that
is a
at
nice
all,
change
yeah.
of pace, and honestly, kind of surprising that they could fit a different game type like that on this cart. Last on the console, maybe they had it all like unlocked
Figured
and they
out
could
by
just
then.
put a bunch in that cart. But yeah, it's a lot more game and varying gameplay than I expected going into a Harry Potter Game Boy Color title.
Right, a handheld console. Like,
Sure.
I would say you weren't even getting this on home consoles during the time. Like, I know that I know the PlayStation 2 version of this. I haven't played it, I don't think. But like, I know there's some of those components, but I don't think in those at this time you're getting 12 spells. You're definitely not doing turn-based combat. You know, it's a different kind of situation altogether. So to get this on a handheld console, that surprised me a lot.
When you take out the 3D component of it and developers not having to like really lean in and explore this new 3D thing that's like everyone wants on their consoles, right? I guess you're left with a bunch of the core fundamentals of an RPG, and they just put them all in here, and it kind of just works. You just put the Harry Potter theme on it, your spells and everything, which I mean, y'all would know better than me, but those are spells from the book. You would recognize Flipendo and Vermilius, maybe. And then the Identify one, too. That's a helpful one to have in there.
Some of them, at least. I think there was a little bit of, like, creativity of, like, sort of extending that. Because they're doing spells and they're doing the typing of, of spells. And some of the, like, bread and butter kind of spells that are used in the books and games weren't highlighted here, but I think it was fairly book accurate.
And I think it all felt like in world. It wasn't a stretch of imagination.
Sure.
Although you can definitely stretch your imagination with this kind of content. I thought it all fit. Even so much so, they're trying to be so faithful to the book that I do think that at times it is problematic. One of the things that was a big issue for me is that both in the book and in the game, Ron, when he arrives at Hogwarts, has his wand broken, smashed. And so the rest of the story, or a large portion of it, his wand is not working correctly. Well, in the game, the way that they work this out is that there are times where you cast a spell in battle and the wand backfires. So there's a random % chance that you can do significant damage to your character, to your own character. You can KO your character just because of the randomization, and they thought that they needed to stay faithful to that. And I hated that.
Yeah, that's a terrible...
that was annoying.
Like, you can put in a conversation in the text in the story of like, oh, my wand's broke, and come up with some sort of backup or fix it quicker than they do in the book, and then you have
or it just fizzles. Even it doesn't hit you.
Right.
You know, it'd be
Anything.
fine,
Right.
Even if that happened,
Does half
And then-
damage. Like,
Right.
It's
There's so many other ways you could have put book flavor in there. You're fighting giant spiders all the time, and Ron's not like terrified or freaking out or running away from battle.
Right.
Like if you wanna inject flavor, you have so many options for ways to do flavor here that committing to the one that like screws with your ability to successfully like do the thing you need to do in fights was a lot.
The thing that is nice is that there's no consequence for death, and I wish that was the case in real life. But like in the game, nothing bad happens to you. In fact, I died first in Diagon Alley? I don't know. Yeah, it was in Diagon Alley. Nocturne Alley. Thank you.
Yep.
I died first in Nocturne Alley. And then it just forwarded me to the next part where Hagrid picked me up, found me, which kind of makes sense even in game lore. But there's no penalty, and I think you get full health back afterwards.
This is a fascinating thing to talk about, because the only other game that I can think of that did this was the Barney game.
I
Where
can't
you-
believe this is the
where
second
you
time you brought
can't-
up
You're
Barney.
not bringing Barney up this whole episode.
I am, because we keep saying it's a kid's game, and it truly is, because if you can't lose, I mean, you can, but it's like you're saying, it keeps you on track, and there's no threat really ever. I never felt one. It takes a lot of the enjoyment out of the game for me. That's part of why I love high stakes games. That's why I like Dark Souls and stuff like that. And so you have to have a game over. You have to have something.
Yes, but also you can't expect a Harry Potter game to be Elden Ring either.
I can expect a Harry Potter game to follow. You'll just hear some things and then you're like, yeah, he's saying this. I can expect a Harry Potter game that has all the elements we've been bragging about so far to also have a game over and a penalty and a start over or something.
Well, and if you don't want to deal with some of that, if you just want to be OP, I mean, you can kind of do that. Like, I've never in a Harry Potter game done this or expected this, but there's grinding in this game. Like, you can grind,
I didn't.
and you should. You should if you don't want to have issues, or I mean, you could just die and risk it. It's fine too. But I never thought that there would be a Harry Potter game that would require grinding.
I know. That's so weird to say.
It's a fine RPG mechanic that I think gets too much hate. I don't think it's overdone here, and I think it's fine. I miss games that don't have at least the option to have a little bit of that.
Yeah, and you grew up with Dragon Warrior, where I know
Absolutely.
I brought this
that
up
was
before.
the game.
You would be in my dorm room grinding on those slimes
for an hour.
hours, and it would not bother you a bit. And I love that.
Nope.
I'm all for grinding as well. I love JRPGs.
I just think it shouldn't be in this game.
I
don't really have a good reason.
Well, I mean, it's weird. Again, Harry Potter and I think all the mixture, Harry Potter turn-based grinding, all of that sounds off to me.
Yeah, it does. It does. I kind of would have really enjoyed a game full of minigames. The GBA one sounds kind of lit.
You wanted that. You really wanted that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't play that game instead this week.
Me too.
Aged.
Game Boy Color graphics are old and pixelated and sometimes bad, yeah. Most of the time they're bad. There are a few examples maybe that they're not offensive. Honestly, for the most part in this game, I'm with them. It looks magical enough, you know.
Yeah.
It looks like Diagon Alley, I
Thank you.
guess.
I'll
Listen,
Your
Dustin.
resolution is a ceiling, obviously, that you have to deal with, but they handle it about as well as you can here in most cases.
Right. It's not necessarily...
I agree with that. It's not beautiful.
Of course it's not. And I'll tell you where it's offensive is the sprite work. Now, Harry's sprite's actually quite good. Even in the victory screen, he's like jumping up and down, celebrating. His shirt's like moving. Yeah. Like there's like motion. But the characters, when they talk, they have like a sprite head that pops up. And most of them are so bad.
Yes, agreed.
Lucius?
I think it doesn't. What is Lucius?
Dude,
he's not the only one. There's a few that are really janky. But
yeah, Mr. Weasley?
I wrote down that the pixel art was hit or miss, and I thought that like the environments and most of the character models I thought were good. Like you know exactly who they are. The rooms look good, all of those things, but the actual faces and the character portraits sometimes are laughably horrendous.
There were also some bad character models as well. Lockhart with their attempt to like make him have the crooked smile and just putting a giant white clump of pixels right in the middle of his face, was so bad.
Okay, but I think this is I prefer Game Boy graphics to Game Boy Color largely, and I think this is why. This is me just spitballing.
It's not the same thing.
Well, here's the thing. I think when you add a color, you're pulling out or revealing or drawing attention to details that the Game Boy palette concealed.
Sure.
I think there's something about earlier pixel art with the scan lines and with all of that, that there was some kind of magic there that your brain fills in the space in between. And when you add color to it, not always, but a lot of the times, it just ends up like drawing my attention to really bad parts of it, like the faces here on the models. And maybe that's it. I don't know, but I don't know. There have not been many times where Game Boy Color graphics have impressed me.
Some of it was their attempt to do things beyond what they should have been able to do as well. They tried to like put sort of like faux text or things that you just didn't have the amount of detail to actually communicate, and it just looked like lumpy or pixely or kind of like distracting. And so if they just stayed a little simpler and been happy with that, I think they would have avoided a few of those moments where this was awkward. I still think for the majority of the game, though, their ability to communicate the world you were in and what you were trying to do and how it looked, given what they had to work with, actually really worked for me.
The spell animations in particular are actually quite good. It seems like they focused a lot of effort on them. They're really good.
Where the graphics didn't work for me, the music really did. I was shocked at how good the music was. There's multiple battle themes, super solid song for when you're tromping around Hogwarts. And then I found out, this is going to shock you, I'm excited to reveal to Nolan at least, that the composer we've seen before on the podcast.
Okay.
The composer is Jeremy Soule, who created the score for iconic games like Secret of Evermore, which we played, Knights of the Old Republic, which we played, Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. This is Jeremy Soule.
Wow.
Okay. Jeremy Soule, the Skyrim guy.
Jerry Soule, the Skyrim guy.
That's like the greatest OST
like Tim
ever.
the Toolman Taylor or Bill Nye the Science Guy. Jeremy Soule, the Skyrim guy.
That is a good reveal, Dustin. That's a great reveal. And I guess I'm not too shocked because what you said already, the music's actually really good here, especially for Game Boy, piercing, but really solid, all
and
things considered. Layered, that's a good way to describe it. But also because, not shocking, because it's big budget, right? Like, you're making the movies, you want the games to come out kind of alongside that. It's a whole marketing thing. You have a ton of money. So they hired the best guy in the biz. Sure. And he probably did it for most of the games, honestly.
Right, he did it for a lot of Harry Potter games during this time.
Yeah.
And so I think, I don't know, but I think he did it for some of the others that came out for the different consoles, even developed by the different people. And then they used different variations of that, of course, for it. And I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Can we talk about one of the difficulties here with a game like this? Everyone, obviously not everyone, most people who will be playing this game already know the story.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to do a lot of unique storytelling because it's people have watched the books or seen the movie.
They've watched the books or read the movie.
They've watched the books. What? You can't give me a hard time. You said talking about our music composer that we've seen.
He wanted to bring something up, and now he's ready to go.
I had the same thought.
No, just anyways. And to me, that makes it a little bit harder to have a game that feels unique. You kind of know where it's going, and so you almost have to bring something else to the table. That might be part of why they did the whole magic card thing or whatever else. And I just don't know. People that are fans are really big fans, and they're gonna want to do all of the forms of media. But to some degree, I just feel like there's nothing new here. And that affects how a game like this ages in my mind.
When I approach a game that I know the source material, which isn't often, but when I do, I'm not looking for
an exact line by line.
Absolutely not. Yeah. I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for something new even, really. I just want to be in the world. And I think for the people that played this game specifically, like the Game Boy Color one, that it was enough. Like, and they weren't let down, I think, by any sort of like story elements or, it was enough for them to be in the world playing a game, which in 2002, it's a big deal. That was probably a big deal for them to be able to live in the world of Harry Potter. We have the theme park now, right? But back then, you got the books, and the movies that came out were so hype.
And it's got to be so hard to do because, I guess one of the first questions as a development team is how close to the plot do we want to make this thing? Do we want to put it in the world, which is kind of what we're saying, is probably the better route, or do we want to, or what do we want to admit? And here, they really didn't omit much. Like, it is almost line by line. In fact, there's a lot of dialogue that is stripped almost entirely from the book. You're playing each of those Quidditch matches. Mm-hmm. You're attending class when in the book they attended class.
Yeah,
like
that's
you're doing
crazy.
all of those beat by beat, which for hardcore fans I think might work, but for the general populace might not, because it's tethered too closely that you're not really getting enough newness. I don't know. There are 3 games made by this same team, the Kryptonite, which, by the way,
Kryptonite, yeah.
So they made it's the game's predecessor to Chamber of Secrets,
right.
and Philosopher's Stone, and it's also on the Game Boy Color. And then they made this game's sequel in Prisoner of Azkaban. That one, though, was for the GBA.
GBA, okay.
If you want a copy of Chamber of Secrets for your Game Boy Color, it's going to be $15 used or $55 new.
Cheap. I bet all those games are so cheap. But especially one that was produced in mass like this.
Yeah, I'm sure they shipped them.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Nolan?
Yes.
X-flip.
X-flip.
I think I said eggs flip.
I'd rather have that than a spell. Don't play the game, guys. Come on now. I think if you're gonna go back and play all the Harry Potter games, you should stick to the home console releases, the ones that would have been the main draw. So PlayStation 2, the big boys. Don't play the handhelds. I can't speak to the GBA because it's a different game than this again, and it's like mini games. So maybe that's sick, but it's one of those games that is just so you can totally not know it exists, and you're not missing much. I think the systems at play here are all fine. That's the thing. I don't think this game is trash. It's a fine RPG on the Game Boy Color, actually. Out of nowhere, some Harry Potter game. But that's kind of why I think you shouldn't play it. You can play the same kind of experience on any other like Final Fantasy game or a good RPG. This one's just, they did it. They pulled it off. But who cares? Just read the book, watch the movie, play the PlayStation release. Don't worry about this one. Such a weird Patreon poll submission, by the way.
Hey,
no,
chill.
I'm judging that one.
Everybody's got a reason. You're not joking for that. You said it with gusto, but everybody's got a reason for the games that they select, and it's certainly not the weirdest Patreon poll game we played.
No,
Kenny.
So this game does lean a little bit simple, and I think part of that is probably because it's trying to be kid friendly, and that's obnoxious at times. It certainly has some flaws, especially in the execution of the card system. But overall, I think it's a charming little title that does a fine job of giving an enjoyable, playable experience of this story that people already know. It's definitely nothing revolutionary, but there's a large audience of fans, both for the Harry Potter universe and for those who just like RPGs, that I think would enjoy playing this title overall. And so, yeah, it gets in GP from me. It's not like the best RPG of all time or anything, but it's an enjoyable little romp in a world that people, I think, for the most part, will welcome. And so, fits the console, does a good enough job. Yeah, let's do it.
Doesn't give Mega Man 3
Oh my
in
gosh.
GP. Gives
They all
Harry
all
Potter and
stand
the Chamber
alone.
of Secrets for the Game Boy Color. New Game Plus.
So Well, it's interesting, Nolan. I didn't know which way you'd go with this because I think you have more experience with handheld console gaming than either
I do.
Kenny and or I, and you tend to find charm in those kind of handheld consoles, and so I didn't know where you would land with this one, or how vehemently you would feel towards it. So I guess it's in my hands, and I think it is in many ways a fairly remarkable title for a little handheld console. I will say this, and at least Kenny and I would agree. I don't know what Nolan would say. I think that it's fair to say that it is much more than just another licensed video game. We played a lot of licensed video games, and a lot of them are garbage in many different ways. I think this is not one of those.
Agreed, fully.
If you're a retro gamer and also a pothead, a hairy pothead, then I think
that's how that works.
There's something to enjoy here. But for everyone else, I think it's an easy skip. I was so uninspired this week to want to come back and continue playing because for me it just wasn't fun, and so I grinded and I played it. As much as I love RPGs, don't compare this to Final Fantasy because they are not the same, and I do not give HP and the COS my vote for New Game Plus status, which means it is not New Game Plus certified. But what did you think? We had 23% on our YouTube poll this week say yes, that it's worth playing today. Nope. 19% said
Disney
no.
adults.
So those were very close. 23 yes, 19 no. And 58% have never played this little title before. Many of you played along this week, wrote in, and it'll be interesting to hear what my co-hosts have to say to your thoughts. A Spot said, I grew up on the game before this, Sorcerer's Stone on the Game Boy Color, and mechanically, it follows in its prequel's footsteps. I remember loving the first game, and I was worried this one wouldn't hold up to my memories, but I'm happy to say it does. What this game does, it does well. The combat system mixes in attack typing and card combos so that combat doesn't become too simple, and the story adds enough side content to keep it from feeling like a complete rehash of the movie. Overall, I really enjoyed this trip back to my childhood, and I think this pixelated romp through Hogwarts offers enough for any fan of the Game Boy Color to check it out. NGP for me.
That's,
I think,
fine.
Yeah. When you got the nostalgia filter, I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
But I agree with them
filter,
generally.
Though. You need the filter, though.
Jock Out joined our Discord just to write this commentary.
Oh, no. Okay.
Welcome.
What's up?
Thanks for joining.
This game is a surprisingly solid turn-based RPG. It was a fixture of my childhood.
Yep.
And even as my enjoyment of Harry Potter has waned from overexposure to it and its author, I would still replay it today. No, it's not particularly well balanced, and it's obviously not going to win prizes for the narrative, but the music is quite good. The visuals and realization of Hogwarts are excellent for the console, and the world felt pretty big and packed with nooks and crannies to explore. Additionally, in regards to its RPG-ness, the characters felt distinct from one another in battle, boss fights were challenging, and the mini-games between plot beats were fun as a kid. It's a lot better than several of the console iterations of the HP games, which is quite an achievement for the device. COS, GBC, felt like a labor of love, and details like these helped that love come through in every part of the finished product, even the unpolished bits.
So, saying that this one is better than some of the console releases?
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's big. That's big. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I haven't played them, but you need that nostalgia filter. You need it. It's a component to enjoying this game. It is.
That's two so far that have the nostalgia experience. Yep. Shane said, this game is fine. I'm sure it have been fun when I was younger, not long after getting into the series. It follows the story well enough and has enjoyable minigames and fine enough RPG mechanics. Learning and navigating the map has been somewhat enjoyable, though checking everything in a room gets a little annoying after a while. The card system is a bit frustrating, given it rewards you for not using it. Would be nice if chests just needed you to have a card in the past to open them, which of course.
Right. Sure.
I wish healing was easier. It also made me grind a few times, and from other people it sounds like that will probably happen more down the line, which I am not a fan of in any RPG. If I can't be completely leveled by just running into whatever enemies are in my path, I consider it a game design flaw. It's a series that has soured for me over the years for a variety of reasons, not only the obvious one, and this game isn't particularly outstanding among RPGs for me to say it should be visited anyway for that merit. No NGP from me.
Here's what turns it NGP for me, is if they took that card system and made it the main battle mechanic that some games at the time did. Chain of Memories is a Game Boy Advance game that did that well. Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm actually in, because then you have a reason to collect, try combos. Like, it's a different game at that point,
and
beyond
it's a different,
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But
something there.
It was just added on.
And then finally, Fast Eddie, who once again submitted this to the Patreon poll, said, "Let me paint you a picture."
Is the picture going to talk to us?
Of course, and
it might.
It's 2002. I am a 12-year-old, much less Fast Eddie, who was in the grips of HP fever, consuming any HP content I could get my hands on. I had recently played the SS GBC title and absolutely loved it. So I purchased the COS GBC sequel and found it to be an even better experience. It had made so many improvements to gameplay, including music, color palette, spellcasting UI, and party battles, to name a few. I will never forget being immersed in the HP world and exploring Hogwarts for hours. It's certainly not a difficult game, however. There are a few grindy sections throughout the story. I recall getting wrecked by Aragog, grinding for what seemed like forever, and eventually beating him. While not the most robust turn-based RPG out there, it provided a very good entry point to other, more serious RPGs that I would eventually get into. Though it may not be worthy of NGP status here, it will always be NGP in my heart.
Oh,
that's the reason. That's
good.
The reason.
Love that.
Fine.
And I guarantee you, he is not the only Harry Potter fan that came to be an RPG fan, because this game came at a pivotal time that was their entry into sort of that genre. And for those people, what a special game.
I buy it.
Yeah, for those people, it's magical. But for now, we're going to set aside HPATCOC for the GBC, and we are going to randomly select the next retro game of the week. What will it be? Just wait a few seconds and you'll know. Randomizing now. Boys, it's 2023, and I can't recall if we've played a platform video game on the podcast this year.
No, we haven't.
Oh, actually?
Have we?
No.
I don't know. I feel like we play platformers all the time.
No, we've played a bunch of RPGs, a lot of modern games, but none of them have been platformers.
I don't think we've played any platformers this year. In fact, I'm struggling to remember the last platformer we played. Mega Man 5?
Earthworm Jim.
Okay.
That was a revisit, doesn't count.
I don't count that, honestly.
Nolan,
but...
we're right. And we're going to, for the first time this year, play a platform video game published by Sony ImageSoft, released in early 1994 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
Okay. I'm very in. Very.
The game is called Skyblazer.
That is a sick name, first of all.
Yes.
I don't know this game. I'm unfamiliar.
I'm even looking at the artwork, and I feel like I've heard the title before, but I've never seen this game. And from one gameplay screenshot, it looks pretty stunning.
94 platformer SNES? Come on.
Yeah.
Don't judge a game by its screenshot.
I judge a game by its cover all the time.
Well, I judge everything by its cover. Books, songs, song cover. So find a copy of Skyblazer and blaze the skies with us this week.
Join Discord. Discord.gg/newgameplus. We'll get you there.
I want to say thank you to those of you who support us on patreon.com including our large list of producers: Adam, Alex, Marley, Anton, and Ben, Brunt, Ellis, Francesca, Gimbin, J. Robert, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Clint, Nicknack, Corey, Lawai, Levi, Mal, Maxima, Mr. Lattes, Sage and Shauna, Subsonic Demon, Tazelhoft, Thomas, Unbelievable, and Zion. Thank you, of course, to our director-level supporters, Brojim, Daniel, D.H. Bowser, Garlisle, and Super Hypered. Love y'all. And we got some new folks joining the party this week.
Ooh.
Quite a few, actually.
New?
Including our newest patrons, Dylan, Ripper138, Nate Wallace Gaming, Alicia, and Stag Nasty. So
Welcome.
welcome. We also have a couple new producer level supporters as well, including Big Dude and Pedro.
Welcome.
So
Dang.
yeah, thanks for joining that illustrious group, and we are so appreciative of your support.
You can follow us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. And this is the moment in time where we are going to say goodbye to one of our long-time team members, Hookshot.
No.
We announced it weeks ago, but as February comes to a close and March dawns anew, we will be saying farewell to Hookshot, but we'll be saying hello to David.
David, do you want to change your name to David Shot or Hook David, just so it's like...
I think he's got it covered already, having a name that starts with a D.
Yeah, our entire team now is
never mind.
Dan, Dylan, and David.
Triple D.
Triple D.
Diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Dylan, Dan, and David.
Yeah, you
Welcome,
could say
David.
our show has D's.
Goodbye, Hook. Welcome, David.
There we go. We love you, Hook. Thank you so much for all of the incredible thumbnails and graphics and web design and t-shirt design and everything you provided for us over the years. You are going to be missed. Stick around. Be a part of our community. And every once in a while, we're going to reach out to you and say, will you make us a thumbnail for something?
Just for fun.
And also, welcome to the club, David. You can find David in Discord. He's hopped in there. Chat with him. He's a cool dude. Join us next week as we play Skyblazer. Until then, I'm still Expecto Patronus.
I'm not going to try and give myself a spell name.
What's the most vile one?
Don't say it, Kenny.
I've not. Yeah, I can't.
I'm Voldemort.
And this has been New Game Plus.